We are definitely intentional. And whether that's diversifying the boardroom, diversifying committees, diversifying those leaders in the 41 sections of the PGA, because we just know this, if you're talking to the same people and they all look like you and do the same job as you, then you're going to get the same results. And that's just not good governance. That's not good leadership.
Hi, everyone. I'm John Fiella, and welcome to the Golf Sustainability Podcast. It's my great pleasure today to welcome Don Ray, Vice President and future President of the PGA of America, for what I know will be a really interesting conversation. As Don he's a fascinating guy. He's a thought leader. He's an owner, an operator, and he's helping guide the industry. But he's also one of the most energetic and positive people that I've met in the industry. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Don, welcome to the Golf Sustainability Podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, looking forward to talking ever since. I know we had to put this off a little bit because you had a grandbaby born, but I'm looking forward to today's conversation.
Let's start, Don. Tell us about your career journey and your current role at the PGA and as an owner and operator.
Yeah, I'll try to be succinct as possible. At the end of the day, I was a professional umpire for 9 years, made it to AAA and was knocking on the door to the big leagues, did some major league spring training games, but never got any big league dirt on my shoes, as they say. But what happened is I would deliver UPS. That's a great job as a minor league umpire. I delivered to this golf course here in Arizona called Riverview Golf Course. And the PGA Golf Festival there was just so nice to everybody, including me, the delivery driver. And I just said, how do you get a job in the golf business? And he says, well, you got to be a PGA pro. And I was like, how do you do that? And he gave me the number. No websites back then. And went through that journey, taking the playing ability test. First job ever is at the golf course I own. Believe it or not, my first job in the golf business was cleaning clubs at Augusta Ranch Golf Club. And who knew that the man upstairs would have plans for me to own that golf course someday. And now actually I sold it to the HOA and now they leased it back to me and my partner, Kurt Hudak. So it's been great. I've been on the public side my entire time. I've gone, like I said, from cleaning clubs to being the owner. I've sat on many tourism boards, really care about the legislative advocacy side of golf. Really love the public side of golf and what it can do to fix a family, to fix a marriage, to fix your health. And really, was kind of going about it that way and really wanted to meet more people. So I got on a committee for the Southwest Section PGA, which led to being on the board, which led to me being an officer of the Southwest Section, which is one of the 41 sections of the PGA of America. And, people just say, hey, you should do this. And, hey, Don, you should run for board of the PGA of America. Okay. Sounds good. And I knew one thing, I noticed, Johnny, that my perspective in the room was a little different. I've been on the public side. This is a second career for me. And I was like, I want to be in that room too. We're going to talk about diversity, inclusion, diverse opinions. That could also be a heavily private, opinion to a heavily public opinion. We've got to get in the middle of there. And knowing that I signed the fronts of a lot of checks, not the backs of them at Augusta Ranch, I think I had a different perspective. And then after serving 3 years on the national board, someone said, you should run for secretary, which the way that works is once you're elected secretary, like you had mentioned, in 2 years, you'll be the vice president. 2 years later, you'll be the president. I'm finishing up my second year as vice president, chairing the budget committee and the financial side of the PGA of America. And then I'll roll into presidency on November 7th. So I'm looking forward to it. It's been a wild ride already. Certainly a lot of existential things happening in the golf industry right now that I deal with probably on a daily basis. But really, at the end of the day, looking forward to serving the 31,000 PGA professionals, the men and women, so I tell people all the time, some people play this game for millions. Well, we get millions to play. And I believe we are the voice of the golfer in the game. And that's why recreational golf and public golf is certainly close to my heart.
Wow, that's interesting. So your first job in the industry is at a course that you wind up owning. Yeah. You join a committee at the PGA and you wind up becoming president. I think you need to run for Congress. Who knows where that will lead, Don?
Hey, well, I'm serving 31,000 first. You know what I mean? I love my country. There's no doubt about it. But let me get through these chairs first. But I do know one thing: passion's passion. I think the why is important in anybody's life, and I just when I see golf, that only 8% of the population plays it. I mean, you're going to tell me 92 out of 100 Americans don't play golf, and we call that success. And that's really my mission. It's not about anything I'm trying to accomplish as an officer or as the president, other than, can I get that to 10%? That 2% represents millions of people. And I think there's a lot of relationships embedded in when people play golf.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's a perfect segue into the first thing I wanted to talk about, which is at golf sustainability. We look at it, there's the environmental dimension, and then there's the social dimension. The social dimension is about getting more people to play the game, making it more accessible to the handicapped, to juniors, to women, to the disadvantaged. And the PGA's really done, what I think is a really interesting job at developing programs to advance the social side of sustainability. How would you describe the PGA's overall philosophy in this area of broadening access to the game?
I'd love to talk about the what and the how we do all that stuff, but the why is just that, like Seth Why used to say, he just stepped down as our CEO, or I'm sure he's on a beach somewhere. But he used to say all the time, if we could get this game of golf to look more like the world, maybe the world would behave more like the game of golf. And isn't that a really cool quote? He's got so many of them. He said, golf is the engine of good, Seth told me early on. And I really like that. And so I think we're very intentional about it now. We might not have been in the past, but we are definitely intentional. And whether that's diversifying the boardroom, diversifying committees, diversifying those leaders in the 41 sections of the PGA, because we just know this, if you're talking to the same people and they all look like you and do the same job as you, then you're going to get the same results. And that's just not good governance. That's not good leadership. So I think everything that we're doing right now is, okay, what are the things we're going to target? Certainly, PGA Reach is what we do on the C3 side. The PGA of America is a not-for-profit. It's a C6. I mean, like I said, we're not part of that tour stuff and the live and the PIF stuff, whatever. Trying to grow the game over here. But the C3 side is PGA Reach, which we have these pillars that we love. The PGA Hope is our veterans. We're just trying to save them. The suicide rate is so bad. PGA Junior League is putting numbers on kids' backs, boys and girls playing together in harmony. We've got a national championship that happens in Frisco in October every year. Certainly what we do with PGA Works, which is trying to diversify the workforce. What are we doing with our internships, these fellows that we pay for in the section offices? Trying to show them that golf is more than just being a golf pro. You could be a marketing person at a golf course. You could obviously be a superintendent. I mean, you could be an accountant at a golf course. There's lots of jobs at a golf course and in the golf industry, and it's an $84 billion industry. And then we did places to play. How can we, kind of like Bar Rescue, how can we take a facility that's in a site where we have a major championship and do something to give it a little bit of love, get it back on its feet again, and make sure that it's changing people's lives? And so, that's the one big thing. We do a lot of industry stuff, but love to hit that one first. At PGA Reach, we're very proud of it. We've got a whole bunch of really they're bought-in trustees, our PGA Reach trustees, which are Fortune 500 business people that believe what we believe. And so, yeah, I think we're very intentional about it. I think we can always do better, and I think we strive to do better every day, just like a golfer. We do make some bogeys, but we're always trying to make birdies, and I'm really excited about what we're doing in that aspect of our industry and of our association.
Well, PGA Reach, I guess, is one of a number of things. There's also PGA Inclusion, which is a major initiative. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Well, I think that's a collection of a lot of different things. You know what I mean? Make golf your thing is an aspect of PGA Inclusion, which is an industry-led. All of the endemic partners, TaylorMade, Cushnet, Callaway, they're all part of it, plus the Tour and the LPGA and, the American Golf Industry Coalition. Those are all working together. Make golf your thing. If anybody's listening, go to that website and see what we're doing. It is diversifying the workforce. Inclusion, though, also is the vendors we're looking at. When we have a major championship like we just had at Valhalla, we open up a portal for PGA for diverse and inclusive vendors, minority owned typically, and making sure that they've got a fair shot if going at those RFPs, because we want to make sure that we're diverse there. And then, I think inclusion is also our PGA Works Collegiate Championship. That's a national championship. We have sponsors with NBC now and a lot of other partners. And, that's exciting. We just had that at Sawgrass, at TPC Sawgrass and at Ponte Vedra. And that is all the HBCU colleges. and giving an opportunity for these student athletes to play on national television. Over 200 athletes play in the PGA World Collegiate Championship. So those are all the inclusive things. It's not a specific thing, but it's a very targeted, intentional approach to diversifying every aspect and making sure everybody feels included.
Yeah, I had a great conversation with Sandy Cross a couple of months back. She does a wonderful job. You guys are lucky to have her. Her passion and her commitment to changing what the game looks like and making it look more like the world is really very, very obvious and apparent. And that program to bring vendors, it's really a great idea. And I don't know where that came from, but from my experience in corporate sustainability, you've got large corporations, be it Walmart, be it GM, be it Amazon. They want to diversify their supplier base. And one of the most difficult challenges they have is finding suppliers that can actually meet their needs. So the fact that you're organizing these events and really serving up these diverse suppliers on a silver platter, that's going a long way, I think, to facilitate that. So that's a great program.
Well, absolutely. And I think even those that maybe don't get selected, because we have a lot of people that apply, it happens twice a year, but just going through the process, a new business owner who's maybe never gone through something like a PGA championship that's generating millions of dollars and everybody's there. And so whether it's concessions or it's security or it's the actual merchandise in the shop, I think we're trying to make sure that everybody has a fair shot, but also make sure they're learning through the process. So the next time they apply, they're going to be more successful. So if they're not applying just for the PGA of America, could be a host of other events that they do. And once again, great information on Make Golf Your Things website, or if you just Google PGA inclusion, you can see all the really cool things we're doing in that realm of the industry.
We'll include links to both of those pages in the show notes for the episode. So my observation is that there are these great programs that get initiated by the major organizations, be it the PGA, be it the USGA, and it's clear that it's difficult to translate those programs on a top-down basis so that they really take root in the field. What's your sense for some of the challenges associated with getting grassroots support for these programs?
You make a great point, because there's also a bunch of local opportunities, and we have 41 sections, and and some, they're all different sizes, geographic. I mean, they're all across the United States, right? And I do think, you've kind of touched on something that I really do want to try to tackle when I'm president is we have national committees, and they do a great job, and they're thought-provoking committees that challenge the board with motions to change our Constitution, to change our association. I mean, we are 100% democratic type of association. It is all about the members talking to their committees, those committees getting motions recommended to the board, and the board making good decisions on behalf of the 31K. But what I have seen is a disconnect. Say I have a DE&I committee of the PGA of America, which we do. And the intentionality of that is that committee has about 20 people on there. And you might go, 20 people on a committee, what's going on there? Well, actually what we're doing there, and it was Sandy's advice, to be quite honest with you, is let's have a couple diverse individuals on every committee. And then those report back to the DEI committee on a quarterly basis of, hey, what's going on in your committees? What are they talking about? What did you suggest? Sometimes these are new leaders that we might tap their shoulder a little bit in the future to help us in the big room. But right now, it's also just making sure that those diverse opinions are in those committees. But what I'm seeing is that at the section levels, they don't have an intentionality of the same. And so when we do have initiatives that we want to take down to the section level, maybe it's a membership or better yet, an employment issue, if they have to talk directly to the employment committee of those 41 sections. And I think that's where, I think we could do a little bit better job. We have to make sure there's a connection, not a disconnect, but a connection between the section committees and the national committees so that we can deploy things down to the 31,000 sooner and quicker and leverage those relationships that really happen on a local basis because the mayor of the small town or the city council. It's hard to do things in D.C., but in your own city capital, you can get it done. And in your own city council, you can get things done. And I think that's what we really have to be intentional, is utilizing these 31,000 men and women who love this game to help them to get other people to love it just as much.
I love that idea, Don. So I'm relatively new to the golf industry, but I think there's a lot that I bring from my experience in corporate sustainability, and it's on these large corporations. I mean, and it like I said, it could be GM, it could be Walmart. You have these HQ driven programs that go from top down, and it's very difficult for those to get root. But if you could find a way to create almost a sense of competition at
Right.
grassroots, so like one section does something great, they get promoted, and another section says, "Hey, wait a second, we can do just as well." And you get things percolating from the bottom from a competitive standpoint. That could have a lot of power. So I can tell that that will be one of many goals that you're going to have during your term as president.
No doubt. I think it's from baseball. Look at a farm system. A farm system is really the health. That's the bones of a Major League Baseball franchise. And it all happens in spring training. Everybody comes in, every level of player from rookie ball to AAA comes to spring training, and they all wear the same uniform for that month. And they go through the same drills. And then they break. And some go to AAA, some go to AA, some go to rookie ball. But those same fundamentals, those same drills, they're going to experience in Lake Elsinore, California, playing for the California League team in Lake Elsinore, the Storm. But the key is they've been trained up on a more corporate approach and then getting empowered when they go back to their leagues to be successful and knowing there's an upward opportunity. And I think that's the same for governance. I think it's the same certainly for leadership and obviously in corporate America, like you suggested. But we just have to we have to put that brand of the PGA on everything, but then challenge those to want to get promoted to AA, right? To want to get promoted to AAA and to want to go, I'm going to be the president of the PGA someday because I can do it because I've learned through these very consistent tactics, in a sense, that we deploy to let them know that they can do it. And that's kind of what we do with PGA Lead, right? That's where we take young PGA professionals and on a 2-year program and a cohort group that they do it together. We teach them about leadership. We teach them about governance. They meet with the officers. They come to our shows so that the next time there's an election in their section, to run for the board, they're not afraid to do it, John. It's amazing. And if they don't get elected, well, then get on a committee and then try again in the next year. So I think all of those things, you have to be intentional because maybe this younger generation gets a little intimidated before they jump in, and that keeps them out. And we can't allow that. We just can't.
And a practice of excellence in management, you're creating that environment where you're making it comfortable for people to step up and try.
Right.
And
Right.
I really like the way at that DEI committee, you've got the representatives from each of the committees coming together, because that's also leadership development for those participants. So it's a really sound practice.
Yeah. Thank you.
So on the, I want to move to talking about a fascinating conversation at the NGCOA conference in January, and you were there because that's actually where we first met. Jay Karen interviewed Seth Waugh, and it was a great conversation. And Seth really brought focus to the role that he thinks municipal golf courses can have in broadening access to the game. And he talked specifically about a project that he was directly involved with, which is right here, 15 minutes from me, the park at West Palm, where they raised a considerable sum of money. They now have a nonprofit running it. But I wonder if that's a model that can be replicated across the country. What are your thoughts on that whole idea of kind of a new model for municipal golf as a vehicle to broadening access to the game?
Yeah, I hope so. I had a front row seat to what Seth was doing. It wasn't a PGA project. It was him and his Rolodex in the town that he loves, trying to get this golf course back up and running again, right? I mean, it had been closed, and there's not a lot of public golf in that area. A lot of the best private clubs in the world sit on that little spot of America, but there's not a lot of public golf. And so what I thought was interesting is he leads with why too. And I think this is a best case. This is something that little groups can follow in every city. Is you get some business leaders that care about their town. They care about people. They know the power of golf. Once again, 92 out of 100 Americans don't play golf. So when you tell them, well, what about golf? No, man. This is all about the environment. It's all about getting veterans out of the house. It's all about getting kids out of the classroom and onto the golf course to smell the grass and to see that you can mow grass at 1/10 of an inch. And it's really cool, right? When you see that for the first time. So him raising that $40 million. And then I think anytime there's a public-private partnership, we've got to see more of that. I mean, I think, the public money's out there. They want to do things for their citizens. They're building dog parks. They're building, soccer fields and softball fields and swimming pools. But sometimes they overlook the golf course side of it because they're like, well, it's not enough voters. It's only 8%. But hold a second. I mean, the core character, the core personality traits, the core integrity, all those things that golf brings, honesty, integrity, all that, the first tee stuff, right? That is keeping your own score, leaving the course better than you found it, repairing your ball mark. You're in charge of calling rules violations on yourself. These are core competencies of just being a good citizen. And so I think when these investors get together, they're like, okay, we raised 40 million. What happens now? Okay, through a public-private, we're going to do the lease, get this golf course up and running again. Well, how are you going to charge rates that the people around there can afford, or can you do free golf? And that's the power of endowment, right? I mean, when you look at a $40 million, you got it in the bank, and say it's making its 5%. You got 200 grand to now subsidize operations of a golf course. You got a golf course that's maybe grossing $1.5 million a year, doesn't want to do junior programs because they're too busy. And they're like, well, I got bills to pay. But you can subsidize the operations with $200,000 of free money because of endowment. I think that starts to loosen up, some of the restrictions that can happen at a privately owned golf course. But now it has the municipalities coming in with private leadership and ownership because we know how to run a business. But then telling the public money, we got this, and we're going to bring families here. It's not going to be about old white men. It's not. That's not what golf is. It's not what happens at Augusta Ranch, my little par 61. We are a melting pot. Come look at my parking lot of all the different cars that are parked in it. Walk up and down the Toptracer range, right? I mean, golf is awesome. Top Golf has showed us that people don't mind swinging a club and having fun. So yes, super excited about what municipalities can do with public-private partnerships to endow operations to offer very affordable rates for people that can't afford golf.
Yeah. Well, so in 2025, and I'm not sure yet how I'm going to approach this, but this seems to be happening, without an overall strategic national plan. We talked earlier, you've got the park at West Palm, you have Cobb Creek in Philadelphia, you've got the National Links Trust. The question I'm asking myself is, what if there were a well-funded national initiative to try to help birth and spring life into that model across the country? And I'm not sure what that looks like, but I will, as my thoughts evolve, you're going to be on my list to talk to.
Hey, I hope so. You better tell me. I mean, that's what, I alluded to places to play. That's very intentional of getting matching grants from, when we come in and go, hey, we're going to get 500 grand to something. We talk with the local leaders and they're like, well, we got this project. And we're like, oh, well, then we'll match the funds. And can we get some other successful financial people in that zip code, in that area code to write a check and do something to bring some people to that place of golf. I mean, Butler Park's doing it in Austin, right? I mean, they're doing some great things. And I think it's going to happen more. I think the PGA is going to lead the way. I mean, we're taking some headwinds now. I think we're doing some good stuff with Make Golf Your Thing. But it's, we just, it's constant, slow and steady pressure, like Zig Ziglar used to say, right? You just slow and steady pressure. And when you're doing it for the right reasons, it'll work. Just don't give up.
Zig Ziglar. There's a blast from the past.
Oh, I love that guy.
Any listener who doesn't know who Zig Ziglar is, just Google it.
You better.
So you talked about public-private partnerships, and I want to expand on that theme of partnerships because in the corporate world, in corporate sustainability, I used to refer to it all the time, that sustainability is a team sport. And it was all about fostering collaboration to accomplish more than these individual groups could do on their own. In addition to public-private partnerships, Don, what type of partnerships do you think the PGA has already engaged in or might engage in the future to advance social sustainability of the game? And broaden access?
Well, I will say this, when golf was closed, basically, everything was closed during COVID, and we did get back to golf, and we talked to the White House at that time to say, listen, I think we invented social distancing. I mean, 4 people go out every 7 minutes. I mean, I don't know, on 80 acres of grass. But what we discovered is that, once again, we go back to this 92 out of 100 Americans who don't play golf. Legislators sometimes don't play golf. They're interns that create all the paperwork and all the points that they're, on the bills that these legislators are going to vote on, don't play golf. And what we found is they think we play golf for millions. They think we're the PGA Tour. And so I think first and foremost, we've got to be very intentional on making sure legislators understand that we're the PGA of America. Golf is great for the environment. It's great for mental health. It's great for family health. It's great for the veterans programs that we do. So don't just turn us off. I mean, there's something called the SIN list. And when there's federal money like Hurricane Katrina, and they're going to give that money to a local area that's been just devastated by a natural disaster, if you're on the SIN list, you don't get any money. Who's on the SIN list? Tanning salons. Let's just say we used to call them, back when I was a guy, a shoe show, because that's the only thing they wear in those places. That's on a SIN list, right? Golf courses. We're on the SIN list. We're still on the SIN list. How in the heck? That started in the 70s, and maybe, it was about private clubs back then, but it's not now. 70% of the courses, nearly 70% of the courses are public golf courses with very affordable rates. So I think the relationships are at the local level and at the national level, getting in front of legislators, those who donate, who have the grants, they're tied to that money, understanding that golf is awesome, and we do so many great things. And I think that's where the PGA of America can rally the 31,000 to get in front of their local and national leaders to say, hey, we're all constituents. And I think like National Golf Day in May, when we go, and I go with Jay Karen every year, when I get in a room with a member of Congress and I start telling them specifically about the lives changed, and I'm a constituent in their district, they're like, well, maybe I should come check it out. Yes, please do. It's not what you think if you don't play golf. It's awesome. It's families. It's frolic. It's fun. It's awesome. I mean, at Augusta Ranch, we say it's forever because you're going to play this game forever. It's fun. It's about the family, and it's fitness. I mean, it is 10,000 steps. You will burn 2,000 calories in 18 holes of golf. So I think that's what we need to do. I mean, certainly every PGA member, every golf course owner needs to be very intentional about what they're doing to activate some of these programs. We need to be at the big stages because I can get us in those big rooms because we're the PGA of America.
I didn't know about that SIN list.
It's terrible.
But that really demonstrates how much of a job is ahead of the industry to change the way it's perceived.
And one thing I got to say, I don't want to forget this. Let me say real fast. Golf raises more money for charity than all the other sports combined. Major League Baseball, NFL, NHL, does not matter. Golf raises more money for charities than every sport combined. And we have to tell that story. People don't know that. And that's critical to why golf is so good.
Yeah. Golf is an engine for good. There's a lot to that. There's a lot there. So, you talked about Topgolf, and Topgolf's fascinating. And I had a chance to talk to Greg Nathan on an episode, and we were talking about the growth of off course and how it may have initially been perceived as a threat, but I think it's now becoming commonly accepted and understood that it's going to fuel additional growth to the game. This in some of my research, I read about what's happening in Korea, where they have these 60,000 golf cafes, and you see them starting to percolate in the States, which are essentially indoor versions of a Topgolf. I've got to believe that model and that whole concept can also help fuel access to the game. And you've deployed Toptracer at your club. What have and it may be too soon. Do you have a sense yet for the number of people that haven't played before that came to do Toptracer? And do you see people going from first time on the range to then taking a lesson and then playing? Kind of what's your first hand look at that?
Yeah, it's all anecdotal now. I was always have a hard time
Right.
saying that word, anecdotal. Um, but I will tell you this: we actually are switching point of sales right now because every golf course has a tee sheet based software, and with Toptracer, which is Top Golf at a golf course, awesome. We need to start tracking customers. To your point, 100% of Americans eat. We all eat every day, sometimes 3 times a day, and can I get you from the restaurant to the range to the putting green to the first tee? Those are the funnels. I need a funnel for new business. And so, I think the gamification of golf is critical because we've got a bunch of screen kids out there. They're on tablets all the time. So screen golf, why wouldn't it make sense? It's okay for me if they're playing Angry Birds at Top Golf and they don't know they're even playing golf. That's all right. I'm kind of tricking them a little bit into you're swinging something, you're hitting this ball, and look at you hit your target. Isn't that fun? And then I can roll them into playing golf with their dad and their buddies, and then pretty soon playing golf with their grandpa and becoming a lifetime golfer. And so, yes, what I discovered, Kathy Harbin, who's actually the president, master PGA professional, she's president of the NGCOA with Jay, right, the National Golf Course Owners Association. She did it first, and she told me, she goes, Don, this is ridiculous. I had no idea because it was kind of a big check. I mean, at Augusta Ranch, it was about $500,000 for us to put it in, but I wanted to do it right. Yeah, because I wanted the covers, I wanted the cushions. This isn't a Ranger Rick who's just hitting balls all the time. I don't want one person in a bay. I want families in a bay. And so to me, it's like, well, what is appealing to women who don't play golf? Because let's be honest, they're making the decisions in a lot of families. They want to make sure that the families are together. COVID taught us that our families, it's fun to spend time together. And so our lighting, our everything that's there, it's like I didn't put the mats right on the concrete. I put AstroTurf in and then put the mats on the AstroTurf. I wanted people from the restaurant to see green. Green's a pretty color, and it shows that this is an outdoor sport. So what I can tell you right now is my range revenue before I put in Toptracer was about $110,000. Last year, after one full year of having Toptracer, it's 450. 4.3 million balls. Yeah, 4.3 million balls were hit at Augusta Ranch last year. And nobody does this by themselves. They're literally bringing people into the game because you're not scared of like going on the first tee of a golf course and not knowing where to put your golf bag. Anybody can step up, and if you hit a couple bad shots, you go sit down again, and everybody jokes on you, and then you get the courage to do it again. It's not, everybody looking for your ball because you lost it again. Nobody likes that feeling. You never lose a ball at Toptracer. You just find another. We got plenty of them. I have 50,000 range balls at Augusta Ranch. So what you'll see is I love that it's lots of different people sharing a large bucket, which never happened before. I love that it's busy different times of day with different types of people, depending on what they're doing in their work-life balance or their family life balance. And I just love the hours of the day. It's certainly, we're open at night now. And at night, it's still 110 here in Mesa, Arizona at night, when you're in July. But they're out there because people want to spend time with people. And Topgolf taught us that. And so if you're a golf course and you don't have Toptracer or something like it, I think you're missing the boat. Because they are the gateway drug to golf, and Toptracer just gets them to my golf course. I'll get them in a putting league. I'll get them on the first tee, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Greg, when I had the conversation with Greg Nathan, he said, one of the obstacles is the social anxiety about going on a golf course and hitting a bad shot. But when you're at Top Golf and you dribble one off the deck, everyone laughs and it's fun. It totally removes that social anxiety. Did you see a lift in food and beverage from the Toptracer?
Yeah, I mean, even to the point where we're putting another food and beverage venue right behind Topgolf called Buckets. I mean, I needed something faster. My little restaurant was doing about $1 million a year. Now it's doing 1.5. I mean, some of that is directly attributable to Toptracer. Some of it is just because we're being known as a family place. I thought I was a family place. I thought I was doing good as a par 61. Toptracer showed me I was kind of preaching to the choir. Well, I was preaching to the choir. Now I'm getting in front of people that don't even know anything about golf. I was trying to get other golfers to play my golf course one more time. Now I'm trying to get people who've never been to a golf course in their life to get a bay for 30 minutes and do a couple high fives and chest bumps when they knock down, when they get a fish on Go Fish. I mean, one of the coolest games on Toptracer is Go Fish. No matter where you hit it, you catch a fish and you fill your aquarium. So a 5-year-old can beat a 50-year-old and go fish.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of golf.
That's awesome. So, and I don't mean to turn this into a sales presentation for Toptracer.
No. And there's a bunch of in-ranges out there.
They're not a sponsor as of yet.
Okay.
But I'm fascinated by business models. So it's $500,000 to deploy. I would imagine there were some additional labor costs, but you did an extra $300,000 in range revenue plus additional food and bev. It's probably a 2-year payback. Would you say? Is that reasonable?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're trending right now. We'll be at 650, 700 this year.
Wow.
And Buckets isn't even opened yet. I mean, the biggest problem I have right now is parking, believe it or not. If you ever told me, I'd tell you that I don't have enough parking spots at Augusta Ranch before COVID, I'd say you're a liar. And now I got people parking on the street. I got the city asking me, what are you going to do? I have a parking lot problem. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But no, it'll be paid off in 2 years for certain.
Yeah, you may need to expand that because TGL, right? I've been reading about TGL, and it's kind of below the radar right now. But this is going to be a national league, and it's going to be part simulator, part real short game. And when you think of deployment of growth at Topgolf, some more of these golf cafes, TGL happening, 36 months from now, I mean, I think it's a whole different ball game.
It's two best players in the world, right, who are going to do it together. I mean, it's where EA Sports and Topgolf collides, right, into a screen golf. Yeah. And I think it's going to be, it'll be awesome. I mean, the Olympics was a bump in golf because now a lot of countries dedicated federation money because it's an Olympic sport and you can win a gold. I think when, some of these gamers out there who see, did you see that movie about Gran Turismo, which was a true story where the kid Gran Turismo did a contest of their best drivers in the game and tried to make them real drivers. And it worked. I think, there's going to be in the future somebody who just plays screen golf, gets really good at it, and then someone says, all right, let's get you onto a real golf course. Now you got a putt and chip. We know that's hard. But you put some, the way they're going with these augmented realities, wind, weather. I mean, you can have some really cool studios. I think that's the future. And then we're going to find out. There'll probably be a world championship for screen golf, and there'll be a world championship, obviously at what we do now out on the real grass. And that's cool, right? Who thought that golf would be able to tap into that?
I mean, the gaming, the analogy to online gaming is, I mean, you're going to have people at a range or at a Topgolf in LA, and I'll be at the Topgolf here in West Palm, and we can be competing against one another and maybe even betting. It's going to be fascinating to see where this whole thing goes.
Absolutely. I can't wait. It was a shame, when they were in the construction of that, right in your backyard.
Yeah.
And that happened. That put it back a year, but it's all right. A lot of things are happening in golf that are great right now. So yeah, I do look forward to that. It will, because there's going to be a lot of media money behind that, and it's going to get in front of that 92% that don't play golf. And so I'm all for it, man. Anything is a funnel for me, because I think if I get them to the golf course, they smell the grass, they see the ducks, they're like, wow, this is cool. They're going to play golf for a lifetime. And I'm not looking for one round of golf. I'm looking for you to play golf the rest of your life. And that's the key. And this is going to help us do that. Yeah.
Have you started a league by any chance with teams at your facility?
This year we're going all in. Actually Toptracer just improved some of their software so that we can do leagues now. It was a little difficult at first. I mean, to be honest with you, this thing was like a bucking bronco, man. We were just sort of, hold on. It was so darn busy out there. How do you pick all these golf balls? Outside service is like, Don, you used to have 7,000 range balls. Now we have 50,000 and we're picking all the time. And think about it. 4.3 million balls were hit at Augusta Ranch last year. Somebody had to pick all 4.3 million up. And so we were behind the labor curve from the very beginning. And so to create more activities, we were like, let's just kind of get this thing going. Now we're good. We're in a good spot in this peak season. When the winter visitors come back in November, there'll be leagues it'll be like a bowling alley. There'll be leagues every night. There'll be leagues for veterans. There'll be leagues for families. There'll be leagues for 14-year-olds. I think the really, what is the limit? It's just the sky. It's just getting groups of people to play together in a time schedule that fits their lifestyle, which is what it's about.
Don, this has been a great conversation, and the last 10 minutes I think have been particularly relevant because when I talk to golf course owners about sustainability, the first thing they often want to remind me is that the most important sustainability for a golf course is financial sustainability, right? And I think to a certain extent there's still a perception that, and I saw this cycle on the corporate side where sustainability was a bad word because the perception was it was going to cost you a lot of money. And when sustainability can actually help improve your bottom line, it then becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. And I think in the interest of financial sustainability for the game, things like what you're doing with Toptracer can maybe create the economic opportunity to do some things that courses are not in a position to do now in terms of supporting their local community. So I'm intrigued by what the financial opportunity from things like Toptracer are because of what it might do to lead community programs.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a diversifier, right? But you know what? It's not about the money till it's about the money, and then that's all it's about. And if I'm driving my car, if I bought a car just to make sure I had enough gas in it all the time, I think I'm not understanding what a car does. A car takes me on vacation. A car takes me on a date night. A car takes me to my daughter's recital. That's what a golf course can do. And I hope, it goes back to Simon Sinek. He says, I love when he says that profit cannot be your goal. It has to be the result of doing the why, right? I mean, starts with why. It's a great book. It's a great video. It's been on YouTube now for 10 years. But you're right. A lot of golf course owners, they start getting so focused on the money. We didn't have enough of it before COVID. Now we've got enough that we can do the capital improvements. But at the end of the day, make sure it fits your why. I mean, yes, my car can't run out of gas. There's no doubt about that. But I didn't buy that car to fill it up. I bought that car to drive it. And that's what we need to do at golf courses. We need to drive them. And that means exposing them to as many of the 92% of Americans who don't play us that we can.
That's awesome. Well, I really look forward to visiting your place at some point.
Yeah, I hope you do.
I'll get out there. Yep.
You better.
All right. Well, now that you've made it in order, I can't deny the president of the PGA. I'll be out there.
Well, it's funny. Susie Whaley used to say this. She said, invited is different than welcoming. I can be very welcoming to you, and I can say, hey, anytime you want to come out, just let me know. That's very welcoming. But if I invite you and say, hey, let's play golf Saturday, December 15th at 2:00, now you've got a decision to make. Yeah. And so, yes, I'm gonna email you with the decision to make, and we're gonna fit it in your schedule. So you'll have to turn me down.
No. I
hope you don't.
I will be honored to accept that invitation.
Thank you.
Well, Don, this is. I like to conclude our conversations by really getting to know our guests and not talk about golf, but kind of talk about values and what's important to you. So why don't we start by, and you're clearly a very driven guy. I'm almost afraid to ask this because you may jump through the screen at us, but what drives Don Ray?
My faith, first and foremost. When I got saved, I wear a bracelet around my wrist, Philippians 4:13. I was one of those guys, to your point. Every one of your strengths can be a weakness, possibly. And I tried to do all things through Christ, and I forgot that He strengthens me. And so, really, that's what the foundation is. That's why I don't worry too much about jacking up my work-life balance. I certainly struggle with it sometimes, but I know where my why's at. I know it's about my wife. I know it's about my Lord. I know it's about my wife. I know it's about my son and my daughter. And then it's about, growing the game. I certainly, I want to lead by example. The reason I did Toptracer wasn't to make more money. It was to show a lot of PGA professionals, like, I think this is the future. Screen golf is going to be the future. And what drives me is, being at a golf course. I've done a lot of shotgun tournaments, 4-person scramble shotgun tournaments to raise money for girls who lost their dad, or the teacher at the school who's got leukemia. And I've been there on those check presentations, and I've seen golf, change a life. PJ Hope, I've had veterans give me a hug for 20 seconds, that 20-second hug. and just thank you and thank you and thank you. And they're crying. And that's what drives me. It's this intangible thing that golf is not about swing, stance, and score. It's about families. It's about being outside. It's about getting back to nature. It's about being quiet, and take it in. And there's a lot of peace on a golf course, whether the sun is setting or the sun's coming up. And I just love everything about it. And got this opportunity to be the president and officer of the PGA of America. So I'm going to lead by example as much as I can, be as inspiring and as passionate as I possibly can, and just let everybody know, dude, if you're not doing this, you're missing out. There's FOMO out there. And golf is starting to get a little FOMO. People are like, oh, what? Maybe I should start playing golf. I might be missing out. You are missing out. So get some golf FOMO, because golf it'll change your life. It's a fact.
Don Ray, you are inspiring and passionate with capital bold-faced letters, my friend.
Thank you.
Who would you say has inspired you most?
Different people at different times of my life. You know what I mean? Jim Mooney, that guy who gave me the number to the PGA of America and said, if you want to get in golf, you got to be a PGA pro. That inspired me, and I think as I've my business partner, Kurt Hudak, I'm on the road 160, 70 days a year, and he's running the facility. And so everybody who works at Augusta Ranch, they're just so happy. We have such a good family there. My daughter, I be honest with you, I didn't graduate from college. Nobody in my family has, ever. Katie will be the first one. She's going to be her senior year at Bowdoin this year, so she inspires me. She helped me become a master professional. I was freaked out about getting that done. It was very hard for me. I haven't written a paper in 30 years, and all of a sudden I had to write this big one. So I think it's different people. You know what I mean? I really do. I think, we say it in golf all the time, leave it better than you found it. And I really try to do that. But I try to leave every interview better than I found it, every situation. So I'm inspired a lot by a lot of different people who are doing way more things than I am with far little, or far less than I have. And so it's really not anybody specific, but it's collectively a lot of people going, you know what, I've got an ability to get on this podcast, and I love it. I love talking to you. I love the passion. I'm better in person than on paper. And so if I can take what all these people are doing, who are kind of silent out there because they don't like to being on a camera, I'm okay with this. It doesn't matter to me. I'm always prepared. And so if that's my goal, is to get out there and preach the gospel of golf, then so be it. I'm going to do it every day.
Oh, I like that. Preaching the gospel of golf. Well, I'll tell you, the kind of connecting dots, you talked about faith. I'm a big believer in the fact that the Lord at times puts people in your path, and they're there for a reason. And Amen. For you, Jim Mooney is one of those guys. Yeah. And it's interesting how he's one of the folks that kind of gave you that little nudge when it was needed, and it changed the whole trajectory of your life.
Yeah, my daughter reminds me of it all the time. She goes, "Dad, you were going to be a big league umpire, and probably never would have had me." So I never went. I just met Karen, and then we got married, and then we had Katie. So yeah, you don't know, right? Who That's knows great. Why or how your life works? All I know is, you wake up every day and thank him that you got another day.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your daughter going to Bowdoin. That's
thank you.
an elite academic institution, and yes. You must be very proud of her.
Yeah, it's hard to get into that school. And, she told me, "Dad, if I get in, can we swing it?" I said, "I don't know. We'll figure it out, man. I don't know." Like I said, nobody in my family's graduated college. So it'll be a big deal the day she graduates. I'll definitely be proud.
That's great. That's wonderful. Don, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome?
The biggest challenge right now is just existential stuff about golf and the stories that are out there about money, 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 money. And like I said earlier, they play for millions. We get millions to play. The rollback of the ball. We are the voice of the golfer in the game. And the people at Augusta Ranch don't want to hit it shorter, even if it's a yard. And they do like feeling like they're playing the same clubs as their idols are. And so that if you go play and you go on your golf trips and you play a golf course that's been on TV, that you're like, well, let's see what I shoot. I mean, basketball's basketball. It's a 10-foot rim across this country. And whether it's got a metal net or it's got a nice fancy net inside a stadium somewhere, it's still basketball. The free throw line and the 3-foot line and the 3-point line are the same. I like that about golf. And that's been the most frustrating and taking our time away from our mission has been talking to legislators that we're not the tour, talking to people who want to make the ball go shorter. That's not what the game needs right now, and just that's I'm excited. Keegan Bradley, 2 weeks ago I was there with his announcement. I'm on that committee that selected Keegan, and Keegan, I'm on the Ryder Cup committee, and so when everybody's all surprised about Keegan, oh man, even he was surprised. Good, because you know what? That means we're doing something right, because he's got the resume, and he loves the Ryder Cup. He's not playing for money for the Ryder Cup ever. I dig people like that. And we had dinner with him Monday, the night before the press conference. Him and his wife, Jillian, they're just good people. He's going to be a great captain, and he's going to bring back to the Ryder Cup that this is all about family, team, country.
I think you're right. That episode of Full Swing, that where he was kind of on the bubble of making the team that went to Italy and didn't get picked. Your heart had to break for the guy because he wanted it, so darn bad. And I'm excited about his selection also. And I read recently he knows Beth Page like the back of his hand, because I guess he played there growing up, or he was a pro there or something. But
St. John's, yeah, he went. I mean, that's what's funny.
Right, he
like
went to St. John's University.
They don't You got all the pundits out there talking about, well, why was it certain people, and Tiger did say no, and we're like, okay, Tiger, you got a lot going on. He's got that league with Rory, right? I mean, he's got stuff going on.
That's right.
No big deal. But yes, he went to St. John's, played his golf there. He understands. He might be a Boston sports fan, but he's a New York fan for certain. He understands Beth Page back. His dad is a PGA golf professional. I mean, this guy loves the Ryder Cup, and people think, well, maybe they gave it to him because he didn't get on the team. Absolutely not. But what was revealed is that he loves that team regardless. He watched that Ryder Cup even though he wasn't on the team. And that's something the PGA of America wants to identify in somebody, that they love this game just as much as we do. And that's what we did. And I can't be more excited. I'll be president at that Ryder Cup. I'll be with Keegan the whole way, and we're gonna win that trophy.
Yeah. Well, when he was named captain, I was like, that's a win for the good guys.
Amen.
That was inspiring. I felt really good about that, because you want to see him do well, and I think he will. My wife and I went to Italy for the Ryder Cup this past year, and needless to say, it was a disappointing event, but it was wonderful, and it's there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
No.
So finally, and Don, I have a sense you've kind of touched on this, but I want to give you an opportunity to kind of put an exclamation point on things. What would you like to leave behind for future generations?
There's a lot of things. Right now, as the vice president, I chair the budget committee. And so, the next 100 years and making sure that the finances of the PGA of America, that our endowment money can fully sustain the things that we want to do. We need to grow that. And we're working on a zero-based budget now. I'm excited that the budget committee got that done and the board approved that. So now it's like, let's keep doing that, and let's keep putting money in the bank, because look at the biggest colleges in the country right now. They have huge endowments, which allow them to do the things for the people who can't afford it. And that's what the PGA of America should do. So that's certainly, I'm excited about the financial side. What I'm going to do a lot when I'm president is visit the PGM universities. We have 16 professional golf management universities, and UNLV is one of them, for instance, right in my backyard and in my section. Excuse me. And so I want to go talk to the kids, because we have more associates right now in the PGA of America than we ever had. 8,000 sitting in the queue, and they're going to be PGA professionals, and they're going to come out with the diploma and, a bunch of books that gave them the recipe to be a PGA golf professional, but they don't know how to be a cook yet. The cooking, mom can give you the recipe, but mom's baked, apple pie just tastes better. And that's where we've got to do more in mentorship. So one, I want to make sure that these young people that are coming out of the universities, these new PGA members, and this big influx that we have, that they have to be intentional about finding somebody. It's sometimes you do just happen to bump into your mentor, but sometimes you have to search them out. And it turns out that, the mentor and mentee relationship is powerful for both sides. That, the mentor ends up remembering what they love the game in the first place, because they've been burnt out as they live through COVID and this crazy business that we're facing. And so And then the third, so it's going to be talking to the kids. That's one thing for sure. Got to do that. I want to make sure this next generation of PGA professionals understand that golf is the engine for good. And then finally, PJ dot coach. We have to get PGA professionals out of the back room. There was a time in our industry to make more money, you had to be a GM. So you learn spreadsheets, you learn P&Ls, you learn balance sheets, and you did them all. And that's great. But it took you away from the very reason of why you got into the game in the first place. So we got to stop being bean counters and we got to start being seed planners again. We got to get on the first tee. We got to get on the putting green. We got to get on the range. And we've got to start relationship, because relationship is sustainability. And sustainability and loyalty in golf is, we'll get to those who are focused on financial success only. Okay, there you go. That's how you could do it, with relationship. But in the meantime, that relationship is really the true why of the game. And that's the relationship between the coach and the captain. I mean, I won't tell you this whole story, but Abe Mitchell sits on top of the Ryder Cup trophy. Abe Mitchell was the golf coach for Samuel Ryder. And that's why Samuel Ryder put Abe Mitchell on top of the Ryder Cup trophy, because of the power of the relationship between a PJ coach and their student.
What a wonderful way to wrap up the conversation. I don't want to add another word other than saying, Don Ray, thank you so much. This was really an inspiring and uplifting conversation. It makes me so excited to see what the next 2 years of the PGA is going to look like under your leadership. And God bless you. Thank you very much for being with me today.
Thank you. I'll take your prayers anytime. It's hard work out here, so make sure you pray for me.
All right. And to our listeners, thanks for joining me today. You've really, you've gotten a special treat. Don Ray's an extraordinary individual, and it was great to be in conversation with him for an hour, and it seemed like it was 20 minutes. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, tell your friends, colleagues, and associates. We appreciate you, and thanks for being a part of our community. Have a great day.